Good morning, good morning, good morning. My apologies for being late. We are in the midst of a blizzard here, and it's affecting our power. So I wasn't able to connect effectively for over 10 minutes. So my apologies there. But if you're coming on now, welcome. Hope you're all doing well, and I hope you had a great week. And if you are in the midst of a blizzard, please be safe. We're getting about 12 to 18 inches of snow here. So on the East Coast, not fun. And it's freezing too. So shout out to everybody in the chat. But let's get right into this. Okay, we're going to talk about moving up in distance today, from indoor to outdoor. What I mean by that is, a lot of folks will run the 800 mile, right, in 3K indoors, and then they'll come up and run the mile 5K or 1500 5K outdoors. So if you run the mile 3K 5K outdoors, you're running the mile 1500 5K outdoors, right? So a lot of similar distances, but for distance folks who run the 3K and the 5K, some folks will run the 5K and the 10K outdoors, right? And so it goes back to touching base with the fitness that you built during the cross country season. If you're in high school, you train for 5K and cross. If you're in college, you train for 5K and 6K. If you're in college, you train for 6K, 8K, 10K, right, in cross country. So you build, and that's when you built most of your fitness. So, and this is an opportunity to kind of get back to that or not deviate from it at all anyway. Because when I talk to a lot of folks, they will, train for that during cross country, and they'll completely deviate from it when track season starts and just focus on track stuff. And there's a lot of fitness that can be left on the table, and that's the last thing I want to happen to you. So, by the way, if you're a coach or an athlete, welcome here. Please make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoy the content enough to come back. If you find it helpful, hit the thumbs up and leave your questions in the comments. I answer them lifetime. Okay. But again, we're going to talk about this moving up in distance. Okay. As always, a good warm up, drills and strides, transitional piece if you need it. And for those that don't know, when I talk about transitional pieces, if you're doing long reps, then transitional pieces 2 to 3 times to 200 after you warm up at the goal pace you're looking to run for the workout. It helps you find the pace before the workout starts. Okay. Put you ahead of the game. The transitional piece, if you're doing short, fast stuff, is a tempo rep. Maybe 800, 1K, 1200 mile. It really depends. 2K, mile and a half. It depends on what you feel is most appropriate as an athlete, as a coach. Okay. Helps you elevate the heart rate and transition to the more intense part of the workout itself. Anything that's going to help ease the transition from the warm up to the workout is a good thing. And anything at that point is going to add to your fitness anyway. Okay. So it's definitely something that if you're not doing now, I encourage you to consider transitional piece. Okay. But let's get right into this. Okay. Moving up. So if you're doing mile 3K to 1500 5K in the outdoor season, right? Warm up drills and strides, transitional pieces. The workout here is 4 times 600 at 5K pace, 4 times 400 at 3K pace, 4 times 200 at mile pace. You take a 90-second recovery after each rep. This is a continual workout. And if you add it up, 2,400 plus 16, that's 42, plus 8 is 5K. Right? 5 kilometers worth of volume. Well, 3 miles, I should say, worth of volume. Say, at different paces. And we've talked about how much volume is a good thing to run at certain paces. Well, this gives you an opportunity to mix and match the paces and get progressively faster throughout the workout. And what you do, that's during an indoor season, a winter track. And then you can progress towards the longer rep version of the workout outdoors with the same exact volume. But now you're going from 4 times 600 to 2 times 1200. Now you're taking 2-minute recovery at 5K pace. Then you go from 4 times 400 to 2 times 800. 90-second recovery at 3K pace. Then you're going from 4 times 200 to 2 times 400 with a 1-minute recovery at mile pace. So I say you can get progressively faster in the same workout, just increasing the distance in the reps itself without changing the volume of the workout, right? And this is how you can kind of get back to the longer stuff that you might do outdoors. If you're going to run the 5K more frequently outdoors, to going with the 1500, this is the type of workout that can help you get ready for it. Okay, but could also help you step down if you're on the 1500, if you're on the steeple, right? And no matter what it is. So this workout right here, and again, 3K pace and 5K pace is VO2 max specific. Okay, But generally, it's with a 1-to-1 work to rest ratio. So this is a little bit more race specific here. That's why the reps are shorter. So if you're doing 5K pace reps and they were like 1K or 1200, the rest would be a little bit longer if the volume was higher. If it was just a 5 or 6 times a K time at 5K pace workout, the rest would be 2 minutes. If it was 5 to 6 times 1K at 3K pace, the rest would be 3 minutes, and so on. Okay, but this is an opportunity to break it up into pieces and progressively shorten the rest as well as the reps get shorter. And again, if you have questions along the way, put them right in the comments, gang. Right in the comments. Okay, so that's your first progression. And again, if you look at it, the volume is the same from the indoor workout to the outdoor workout. Just the reps are longer. That's it. Makes it easier to transition back into the longer events in the outdoor season. Okay. Now, next up, and again, if you have questions along the way, put them right in the comments. You know how we do it here. Answer them live time. I want to make sure you understand what we're talking about here. Okay. Next up. Now, this is if you run, let's just say 3K, 5K, and for those athletes that run the 5K, 10K outdoors. Okay. And if you do, we don't want to deviate from the longer workout stuff at any point in time. You're already training for 8K, 10K during cross-country season, or 5K, 6K during cross-country season, and you're moving up to 5K, 10K during track season. But you don't move up for it. You don't move up until the outdoor season, right? So this is a workout, and this is a pretty high volume workout here. But it's for, and again, warm up drills and strides. Then you do 4 times 1200, 90-second recovery at 10K pace. Into 4 times 800, 90-second recovery at 5K pace. Into 4 times 400, 90-second recovery at 3K pace. Add up the volume, it's 48. 32, it's 8K times a mile, 9,600 meters. Okay, 6 miles worth of volume. And again, you've already gotten used to doing this type of volume during the cross-country season, right? So, and this is something that you can still do during the indoor track season, but you don't have to do it as frequently. But again, this also allows you to touch 10K pace, 5K pace, and 3K pace in the same workout. Make it easier to step back up to 10K pace, the outdoor workout. Now you transition from that to the outdoor version of the workout. So you go from 4 times 1200 to 2 times 2400, or 2 times a mile and a half. Okay, and that should be 10K pace. My apologies there. 4-minute recovery. That's at 10K pace, not 5K pace. Into 2 times 1600 at 5K with a 3-minute recovery. Into 2 times 800 at 3K pace with a 2-minute recovery. The volume is exactly the same as it is in the workout above it, but the reps are longer, making it easier again to transition back into the longer race in the outdoor season. Okay, the longer reps have longer rests. Okay, less reps, you're only getting 2 reps of each distance here. And again, like I said, the 2 times 2400 should be at 10K pace, not 5K pace. My apologies there. So there's that. There's your 5K, 10K transition workout. Okay, if you got a comment, Multi-Kenny, my apologies, dude. It can be more geared towards college, but again, if you're going back to the one before it, Multi-Kenny, and let me put it back up here. This one here, this is a high school and college here, right? This is 3 miles worth of volume in the entire workout. So this is a workout that high school athletes should be able to do, especially that amount of reps. So this one here is more appropriate to 5K, 10K. This is more, that's a good question too, Multi-Kenny. This is more college, 5K, 10K, because most time, very rarely does a high school athlete run 5K, 10K in the outdoor season. Okay. You can do, if you like this work, you can abbreviate the volume if you'd like for a high school athlete. You can modify it to what you feel is most appropriate. But again, this gives you an opportunity to run reps at 10K pace, 5K pace, and 3K pace, which are the most transitional distances from indoor to outdoor, right? You want to be able to step down and run a good 5K. You want to be able to step down again and run a good 3K. You just want to be strong enough to step back up and run a 5 and a 10. Right, Multi-Kenny? So these are race-specific event distances here, reps. That's a good question too. Okay? So your first slide, mostly appropriate to high school, right? And I should have specified to them. My apologies there. Mostly for high school boys and girls, and it could be college women. The second slide, mostly college men and women, but in some cases, high school. It really depends on how you're training and what events you're training for. Okay, so but again, not to be ignored are the tempo pieces, right? The VO2 max component, the two variations of tempo runs. I'm going to give you a 20-minute one and a 25-minute one. We talked about this a lot, right? You can do either a consecutive 20 to 25-minute tempo run at a specific prescribed pace, right? And then you can do some speed on the back end of it, whatever it be, some 50s or 150s or 200s, whatever you feel is appropriate on the back end of it, right? That teaches you to accelerate when your legs are already fatigued. That's going to simulate the end of a longer race, whether it's 3K or 2 mile, 5K, 10K, anything like that. Even the mile. Even 800 and milers I encourage to do tempo runs. That's an important component of conditioning. It's going to make hard workouts easier. It's going to make it easier to recover from the longer workouts and the harder, faster workouts. It will be. So in this run here, this is a modified 20-minute tempo. If you look at it, 8 minutes of tempo, and again at the prescribed pace. You take a 1-minute recovery after 8 minutes, and then you do one. Then you run 90 seconds at 130 at 3K pace. Okay, you're injecting a little bit of race specificity in there. Then you take a minute rest after that. Then you go to 6-minute tempo. Take 1-minute recovery. Then again 130 at 3K pace, 1-minute recovery. Then 4 minutes of tempo, 1-minute recovery. Then 130 at 3K pace. Okay, should say 130 at 3K pace. It should say 1-minute recovery there. My apologies. And then 2 minutes of tempo, 1-minute recovery, then 130 at 3K pace. Okay, so you're doing 20 minutes total of tempo running, broken up into 4 pieces: 8, 6, 4, and 2. But you're injecting a little bit of race pace stuff in between it. Okay, it's only 6 minutes worth of volume at 3K pace, but it's in between a broken tempo. Okay, it should be 1-minute recovery after the last 2 minutes of tempo. So I should have reviewed these slides better. Okay, so that's tempo 1. Now this is option 2 is a 25-minute modified tempo. Okay, so now you're doing 10 minutes of tempo pace. And again, your transitional piece here could be a couple of 200s at the prescribed tempo pace before the workout starts. So if your tempo pace is, let's just say 6 minutes per mile, you're running the 200s in 44:45. If your tempo pace is 5:30 per mile, you're going to run them in 40:41. And so on. If it's 5:20 per mile, you run them in 39 or 40. That helps you lock into the pace before the workout starts. You take a 2-minute recovery after the 200s. Max reps 3. Okay, so this workout is 10 minutes of tempo, 130 recovery now. Instead of 1-minute recovery, it's 130 recovery. Because you're going to do a minute at mile pace now. So the faster stuff after the tempo is going to be a mile pace. So that, I'm adding 30 seconds to the recovery. Then again, a minute mile pace. And then you take 130 recovery again. You do 7:30 at tempo. 130 recovery. 1 minute at mile pace. 130 recovery. 5 minutes of tempo. 130 recovery. A minute at mile pace. 130 recovery. And then lastly, 230 at tempo. At 130 recovery. And then a minute at mile pace. So broken up in the 4 pieces now. 10 minutes. 7:30. 5 minutes, 230. That's 25 minutes of tempo. But now you're injecting mile pace stuff in there, acceleration. And you're just going to add a little bit to the recovery component. So this gives you 2 options here. Okay. And again, that's 4 minutes of work at mile pace, but it's not consecutively at that tempo. It's broken up in between the tempo. And again, it's not 6 minutes at 3K pace at that tempo. It's broken up in between the tempo. So you have your 20-minute tempo broken up with 3K pace stuff. You have your 25-minute tempo broken up with mile pace stuff. And you can alternate. You can do the 20-minute tempo with mile pace, 25-minute with 3K pace. Really up to you. So you essentially have 4 options here. The tempo runs. Is there a way to do some these same work in multi-K and translate them to distances instead of time? You can, if you'd like. Now you can. I mean, you can do, let's say, obviously the tempo pace is the tempo pace. That's one, that you want to have a time, right? But let's just say the 130 to 3K pace, that could be a 400 or a 500. right? Just arbitrarily, 400 or 500-meter rep. And the stuff at mile pace could be, 300 or close to a 400-meter rep if you're running that fast of a mile. You can do a shorter, specific distance rep. It's a good question too, Mother Kenny. I like to do the time, but if you're not at a track or whatever, and you need to have something, and this is also a good workout to do the tempo, like in the infield of the track or on an open field, and then you hop on the track. But the rest period is not very long, so you've got to be able to transition from one area to the next. So you can do specific distances, especially even if you're in open field and you have something measured out, you can do that too. So you can do these workouts and distances instead of time. But like I said, I would do the time at tempo pace, and you can do the distances at the faster pace. That way, you're doing 20 to 25 minutes of tempo because there's a specific pace, and essentially 6:15 is the cutoff. So 6:15 is when you can do 4 miles at 25 minutes at the same time. That's when the time and the distance kind of meets. 6:15 and 25 minutes. Okay, distances connected. That's fine. Distances, and you can. The tempo being straight time, that's totally fine. Like I said, if you're a coach, whatever works for you and your athletes. This is why it's good to have difference available to you. But this is where you can throw creativity into these workouts and do it any way you want to do it. And it depends on what you have available to you as well, right? So, but this is a way of adding to their fitness and injecting race specific stuff in between here, because it's also practicing accelerating during a tempo instead of after the tempo, right? Practices accelerating mid-race, 3/4 into the race, right? Throw an acceleration at some point. If you're running a mile, running that third lap harder, right, on the outdoor track, or that fifth and sixth lap harder on an indoor track, and it's like, wait a minute, they're not kicking. Why are they moving so early? It gives you an opportunity to break open the pack. That way, if some other athletes are relying on a kick to outkick you, and you create the distance, they can't outkick you now because they aren't anywhere near you. Okay, this allows you to be strategic in racing strategy too. So let me know if that makes sense, guys and gals. So there are your options. There are your variations of tempos, 20 to 25 minutes. And again, like I say, you can throw all kinds of variety in there. But I do think time is specific to tempo, but you can inject distance if you like. If it also helps the athletes understand, if it makes it easier for them to be aggressive, that's fine. That's totally fine. You are accelerating in the mile and 3K pace stuff. You're trying to stay locked into a specific pace with the tempo. Also allows you to, if you're doing stuff at mile pace, you're throwing a little bit of that junk in the legs, then you flush it out the next rep with the tempo. Then you put it back in, then you flush it out the tempo, and so on. So you can mix and match these types of things. Like I said, it can be a 20-minute consecutive tempo and some fast stuff at the end, or 25 minutes consecutive tempo and then fast stuff at the end, or stuff like this, right? And these are good options for middle distance and distance, whether you're high school and or college. It really doesn't matter. And again, high school, especially high school, I build my athletes up to 20 to 25 minutes consecutively, no matter what, for tempo runs. No matter what. At the specific pace. But nothing beyond 20 to 25 minutes. You may be up to 4 miles for some, you may be above 4 miles for some, and you may be below it. That's okay. That's okay. But that's the time cutoff for tempos, at least for me in high school. You can move up a little bit in college. But again, that's up to you to eyeball. I wouldn't go above 20 to 25 minutes for my half milers. But if you have folks that are doing the longer stuff, you can go up to 30 or 40 minutes. 6 to 8 miles for a specific tempo. You can. That's going to simulate what? Running comfortably hard for a longer period of time, 5K, 10K, right? That's why I do a 20 to 25 minute tempo too. Not only is it a VO2 max conditioning piece, which is really important, but also if you happen to run a 5K during track or cross country, gets you running comfortably hard for an extended period of time, which simulates a 5K race, right? And now you have options to throw speed in between it, at the end of it. It's really up to you. You have options now. So hopefully you find this helpful. If you do, please hit the thumbs up. Okay. And if you have any questions about the structure of the workout, put them in the comments now before I wrap it up. I have to actually get back out and do some more shoveling. We're getting hit by a blizzard here. Hope we don't lose power. But that's this one. And again, for those that there was some fast. I don't know if you saw the racing yesterday. The 800-meter men's world record was broken. Josh Hoey, 142.5, and Hobbs Kessler, young middle distance and distance runner, broke the world record in the 2K. Cole Hocker broke the American record a day before, 2 days before. Kessler broke the world record, Hicham El Guerrou's world record yesterday in the 2K. 4:48 for the 2K. That's some serious running. And both these guys are going to be running the Millrose Games next Sunday. So next Sunday is a big week of racing. BU on Friday and Saturday. I think it's the Terrier Class. I think it's the Terrier Classic or the Red and White Classic at Boston University Friday and Saturday. And the Millrose Games at Madison Square Garden. Not Madison Square Garden, at the Armory, excuse me. When I ran it, it was at Madison Square Garden. That's going to be on Sunday, February 1st. And there's going to be some huge races going on. So if you're a fan of the sport and you'd like to watch it, you can watch the Millrose Games on TV next Sunday. So anybody have any last minute questions about these workouts? Multi-Kenny always ask good questions. I appreciate you doing that. I want to more this makes sense. I want to make sure this makes sense to all of you. That is some big racing. That's some serious racing. People are running fast. They are running fast. And then, they're stepping things up in training. They're doing things that they weren't doing before. They're doing things that people weren't doing before. And it's nice to be able to have Americans go on par, running on par with the Kenyans and Ethiopians and Ugandans. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. We haven't had that in a long time. So, yep. And we had some good 3K racing yesterday, too. So, does it all make sense, Multi-Kenny? Anybody else that's in here, do these workouts make sense to you? Do you have any other questions about them? Can you see yourself incorporating any of these? Even modifying it into your own, this is why I put out workouts like this too, so you have an understand, look, you can see it in writing, and it gives you an opportunity to make some modifications if you need to. Multi-Kenny, you're welcome. And again, my apologies for being a little bit late. The snow is affecting our Wi-Fi over here. I appreciate. I always look forward to being with you guys on Sundays too. It's always going to be 9 a.m. Eastern time again. And another question, not really related to the workouts, but you want to jump from 9:40 and 3K to 9 minutes, 4:20 to 4:07. What mile? Really depends what mileage you're at now, and what year of school you're in. It's a good question too. It's again 9:40 to 9 minutes, 4:20 to 4:07. What kind of mileage are you at now? And what type of workouts in volume are you doing in the workouts? Freezing in Chicago, yeah, man, yeah. 30 miles a week, I would gradually bump that up. Try to get yourself to 40, in between 40 and 50. It really depends on how old are you and what year of school you're in. Yeah, Chicago's brick cold. Base building at 30 miles. So if you're not doing workouts right now, and then you're going to transition to where if you're just doing base building, you're 16 junior in high school, I would get up to 40 miles gradually. And I would take it down. And I have videos on this channel about volume per year in high school. As a junior, I take off I recommend taking off every other Sunday, right? And so that you have 36 or even 42, okay, on a 6-day week, and 42 to 49 on a 7-day week. So, getting your long run up to 8 miles, even 10 miles on the week where you're not running Sunday, 10 miles, and then you can do that 8 miles on the week that you do run Sunday. But as a junior in high school, I would get you up to 40 to mid 40s. And I would start building the tempo. Because if you're looking to run 4:07, that's about a 4:25 mile. You're looking to run 9 minutes. That's about 4:45 pace, 4:46 pace for 3K. So you're looking to run your tempo runs at about 5:30 pace, or building towards 5:30 pace for a tempo run. Okay. And there's a video on this channel how to build to 20 to 25 minutes consecutively in pieces. I encourage you to watch that too. But just to simplify it really quickly, if you're not doing tempos, I would do 2 times 6 minutes at tempo pace with a 2-minute recovery. And the next time you do it, combine it 12 minutes consecutively. A couple weeks later, 2 times 8 minutes, 2-minute recovery. 2 weeks later, combine it to 16 minutes consecutively. Okay. Then 2 weeks later, 2 times 10 minutes, 2 minutes in between, and then 20 minutes consecutive tempo after that. That's building it towards 20 minutes consecutively in 6 pieces. Allows your body to gradually adapt to adding volume at the specific pace. And if you can do that, that's going to make it easier to put forth workouts to help you run those paces, to help you drop those times. Okay. So if you're not doing a tempo run, I encourage you to incorporate that into your training now. That's VO2 max conditioning. That's going to help make the workouts, make it easier to do the harder workouts. It's going to help you drop chunks of time in the mile, 1500, in the 3K, even in the 5K, if that makes sense. And if it does make sense, let me know. If you have any other questions, let me know before I wrap it up. But that's a good way to look at it too. That's essentially going from 940, that's about 10:30 for 2 miles to 9:40 for 2 miles. So you're looking at about a 50-second drop in the 3K, right? Or 40-second drop. And then you're looking to drop about 20 seconds or so in the 1500 or the mile. So a tempo run will definitely help you do that, and getting the volume up as a junior in high school. And I would still take off every other Sunday. You have to recover as well as train at the same time. And yeah, I mean, so think about it this way too. A tempo run is a threshold pace, is a threshold workout too. Okay, it's aerobic threshold. Okay, and then you have anaerobic threshold, but then you have your threshold specific reps. So if you're doing your tempo run, but then you can also alternate it. So let's just say your tempo run is 1 week, right? And then the following week you can do 4 to 5 times an 800 at threshold pace with the 1-minute recovery, right? That's 8 to 10 seconds faster per mile. So if you're locking into 5:30 pace at the tempo run, you're going to do about 5:20 pace for the threshold reps. And then you have a minute recovery in between. So that's 800s at 239, 240. And then the following week, you go back to the tempo. And then you try to go 4 to 5. And the week after that, you try to go 4 to 5 times a K at 5:20 pace, at threshold pace with the same 1-minute recovery. And then you go back to your tempo. And then the following week, you try to do 4 to 5 times 1200 at the same threshold pace, 5:20 pace, 1-minute recovery. And now you're, again, locking into a pace, but you're adding volume at the goal pace. And there's a couple different ways you can progress. And I talk about this a lot. If you haven't heard, you can do the same workout again, but faster. You can cut recovery in the workout, the same workout, or you can add volume to a workout. This is adding volume. And an easier way to base your fitness is to add volume to a goal pace. And then once you're at the goal distance, then you can modify it. But that's you have right there, you have 6 to 8 weeks of consecutive workouts. Tempo 1 week, threshold the next week, tempo, threshold, tempo, threshold, tempo, threshold. Then you can even do hills if you want to do a second workout, or something faster earlier in the week, 200s or hills or something like that. That'll help you build fitness. And take a look at my training programs too. I've got broken down seasons, and you'll see the alternating between tempo and threshold each week. All right, but that's what I'll do next week. I'll do that next Sunday, alternating tempo 1 week, threshold next, and I'll have it all in writing for you. So you can, if you come back next Sunday, you'll understand it. But it'll also be hopefully helpful for other coaches and athletes, and what to complement it with, right? If you're not racing, okay. If you're racing, then you can mix and match the training around. You can do your threshold or tempo workout on a Tuesday if you're racing Saturday, right? You can do that for 6 to 8 weeks consecutively and just race if you're racing every week. You can do that. But if you're not racing, you can do a shorter, faster session on Tuesday and then a tempo threshold session on Friday, right? That's another way of doing it in a way where you're not racing and getting 2 workouts per weekend. You would say that you're great at anaerobic but terrible at anything aerobic. So this type of stuff is going to make your anaerobic better, right? So it's that type of stuff, your threshold and your tempo runs, that's going to make, and that's VO2 max conditioning, okay? VO2 max initial. And then at some point you want to, once you get past it, then you can do VO2 max specific. Then you can do reps like 600s at 3K pace, which is also VO2 max, but it's more closely aligned to race pace specific stuff for the mile and the 3K, right? That's going to make it a little bit easier to transition to that faster stuff. But I would definitely encourage you, if you're not doing it now, to do this type of stuff first. It'll make it much easier to drop chunks of time in the 3K and a mile, in the 1500. If you do this type of stuff, this is essentially baking a cake, right? You want to spend this time baking the cake, and then you want to put the icing on it later. This is the type of stuff that's going to help you bake the cake. Have anything for 4-8? Yeah, I do. I have a lot of stuff, especially on this channel. A lot of stuff for 400, 800. But I'll give you one workout, goes to speed endurance 200s. If you're 400, 800, you're not doing this. Speed endurance 200s. So building towards 8 to 10 times a 200 with a 2-minute recovery. Okay. Let's just say you want to run 50 seconds for the 400, just arbitrarily. You're going to run the 200s in 29:30 consistently. And then once you get to that point, 8 to 10, then you cut the volume. You cut the recovery from 2 minutes to 90 seconds. That's going to help you drop a good amount of time in the 4 and the 8. It's also going to make it easier, and it's going to make you strong. So if you run 800 early in the meet, and then you come back to a 4x4 later, or if you run a 400 and come back in a 4x8, it make to do both. That is a staple workout that I put for my 400, 800 folks. Okay, you need to be strong enough to step down and run a fast 4. You need to be fast enough, and you need to be strong enough to step up and run an 8. But it also helps you run the 600 and the 500 and the 300 and everything in between too. So speed endurance 200s. That's a key one for a 4-8. And then take a look at this channel. Okay, I've got a lot of stuff in the 4-8. And take a look at my TikTok. For those that don't know, this is my TikTok. I also have a TikTok account. This is it's called Access to Coach in one word. I'm going to put this right here on the screen in the comments. But if you do have TikTok, go take a look at that. And I've got a lot of content on TikTok too, specific to the 4-8, specific to the 8 in the mile. And I will do a 4-8. I'll add it to this. So if you come back next Sunday, I will add 400, 800 stuff to the threshold tempo stuff. What I'll even do is I'll add the threshold and tempo and a secondary workout for distance and middle distance, and then I'll do the second one. I'll do how to do that, add the threshold and tempo as the secondary piece, and then adding race-specific stuff to the 4 and 8, folks. So you'll have both. You'll have long sprints, and then you'll have middle distance and distance. I'll give you both next weekend. So come and join me next Sunday and bring all your questions, all right? You're welcome. I appreciate you. And again, yeah, for those that don't follow me on TikTok, make sure you follow me there. I put a lot of content out there too. And my goal is to get to 10,000 subscribers here this year. So we've got about 18,000 on TikTok. I want to get to 10,000 here. So tell your friends, your teammates, your coaches, anybody you think that might benefit from this channel. Please let them know we're here. Please let them know we go live every Sunday. And I go live so that we can have discussions like this, and I can answer questions. I can also learn from you, and I'll ask you questions too, because I want to help as much as I possibly can. You're welcome, Multi Kenny, and everybody. Thank you so much for the questions, everybody. Go have a great weekend. If your football team is playing today, may your football team win. After today, it's Super Bowl, baby. And good luck the rest of the season. Hope you run fast. Hope your athletes run fast, and I will see you next Sunday. Peace.